Starting tonight, you can greet the most poisonous remark, the most theatrical tantrum, the most expertly timed guilt trip, and feel nothing but a calm, almost curious stillness, as if you were watching rain slide down a window pane you somehow know can never be broken. I will give you 9 live habits, ancient, neurological, battle-tested, so that the next time a voice rises against you, your heart rate will actually drop. Your thoughts will narrow to a clean blade of clarity, and the moment will end with the other person exhausted while you walk away lighter. Miss even one of these habits? Especially number 6, the one Epictetus used when his master broke his leg, and you will keep waking up at 3:17 a.m. replaying what you should have said, cortisol still soaking your veins like cheap gasoline, waiting for the next spark. Picture this. You are in the grocery line. The man behind you explodes about the wait. The cashier's lip trembles. Every pair of eyes turns to you as if you're the next actor in the drama. What you do in the next 4 seconds determines whether your evening is ruined or refined. I will show you the exact internal sentence that turns his rage into your rehearsal hall. Why does your chest already tighten when you merely imagine the scene? That is the first open loop. Your brain cannot tell the difference between remembered and real hostility, so it fires the same flares. Yet the Stoics sailed through worse storms without a single torch of anger. Second loop. Seneca wrote, "The greatest victory is victory over self." But he wrote it while a mad emperor was mailing him death threats. How do you write philosophy while your postal carrier might arrive with a sword? Third loop. There is a breathing pattern, 4 beats in, 7 hold, 8 release, that collapses the amygdala's alarm in under 12 seconds. Stay, and you will practice it together with the ghost of Cleanthes, who once worked as a water carrier and learned to carry insults the same way. Promise, by the time the credits of this film roll, you will have a private operating manual so precise that difficult people will feel like wind hitting a mountain. They can howl, they can gust, they can even break themselves against you, but the mountain does not remember their names.
Habit number 1 is the pause that Marcus used when his wife slammed a door so hard the marble cracked. Only he didn't call it pause, he called it systole, the moment the heart rests between beats, and he trained himself to live inside that pocket of silence while insults were still traveling through the air like slow arrows. Imagine the scene. Dawn in the imperial palace, a servant spills scalding wine across military maps. The junior treasurer snickers. The room waits for the emperor's explosion. Instead, Aurelius closes his eyes for exactly 1 heartbeat, feels the coolness of the floor under his bare foot, and when he opens them, the servant is still trembling, but the anger has already missed its ferry. It will wander the corridors looking for another host. Neuroscience now calls this the refractory gap, a 200 millisecond window between stimulus and response where the prefrontal cortex can veto the amygdala's draft of war. Most people never notice the gap exists, but you will learn to widen it until it feels like a cathedral you can walk around in. Try it tomorrow. When your colleague mocks your idea in the Zoom call, do nothing, literally nothing, for 1 full heartbeat. Let your screen stay frozen. Let the silence elongate. Let the other participants feel the vacuum form. What you are actually doing is sending a subconscious signal that their words landed nowhere solid enough to bounce back from. Silence is the acoustic version of Aikido, and the brain on the other side registers the absence of resistance as a kind of vertigo that often shuts the mouth mid-sentence. Seneca practiced the same trick when he was exiled to Corsica. Instead of writing revenge letters, he would sit beside the sea and translate each wave as a syllable of the insult, then watch it dissolve into foam. After a year, he claimed he could no longer remember the face of the man who ruined him. Your open loop for the next paragraph? Why does the pause work even when the other person keeps screaming? Surely noise should fill silence. Stay and you will meet habit 2, the label that turns hot rage into cold data.
a technique Epictetus discovered while his master whipped him for dropping a clay lamp, a technique now taught to hostage negotiators who stand in doorways while lives splinter.
Habit 3 is the mirror, an invisible shield Seneca forged while Lucilius kept mailing him vintage amphorae and whispered requests for favors. The same shield you will deploy when the colleague who undercut you last month suddenly offers to put in a good word upstairs. Seneca's ink-stained hands paused over the parchment. He wrote, "A gift is a hook with gilt feathers. Admire the plumage, but inspect the barb." Then sent back the wine with a thank you note that never mentioned the promised recommendation, teaching us that reflection is quieter than rejection and twice as disarming. Neuroeconomists at Caltech call this reciprocal framing, when you verbally replay the offer in neutral daylight. So, you are willing to endorse me, and in return you hope I will remember your nephew's job application. The speaker hears their own subtext echoed, which triggers the same discomfort as smelling one's breath in a paper mask. Most manipulators retreat before the sentence is finished. Try it this week. When the friend who ghosted you during your divorce texts at 2 a.m., "I miss our talks, let's get coffee, I could really use your advice," answer with the mirror, "I hear that you need support and that you'd like to meet." Then stop. No apology accepted, no date proposed. Just the reflection hanging in the digital air like a museum portrait they suddenly realize is watching them. Cinematic beat. Imagine yourself as the polished bronze gate at the entrance of a temple. Worshippers see their own greed, flattery, or guilt first, long before they see the god behind the metal. Most adjust their robes and walk away without ever pushing in. Marcus Aurelius practiced the mirror nightly at the palace banquet table. When senators toasted the wisdom of our beloved emperor, he would silently restate, "They are toasting the purple, not the person," and the clarification let him drink watered wine instead of poisoned praise, a habit his biographer says kept him sober in both senses for 19 winters. Yet mirrors can still be smashed. What happens when the difficult person is family? When the same mother who bandaged your knee now bandages every achievement in backhanded compliments? When history is a glue no mirror can dissolve? Loop. The closer the DNA, the sharper the knife. How do you hold up a mirror to someone whose blood beats inside your own wrist? Stay, and Habit 4 will show you the lever, the Archimedean point Epictetus found when his master broke his leg. We will learn how a single sentence, spoken without heat, can move the world of another person while leaving your own hands untouched.
Habit 4 is the lever. One sentence placed so precisely beneath the other person's behavior that, without pleading or scolding, you tilt the entire scene until the weight of their own action lifts the pressure off your chest. Epictetus discovered it the instant his master twisted his leg beyond endurance. Instead of screaming stop, the slave looked up and said, voice steady as winter stone, "If you keep turning, it will break." And the declaration, neither threat nor plea, created a vacuum of consequence so cold that the hand froze mid-torsion. The bone snapped, yes, but the lesson lodged deeper in the breaker than the broken. Modern behavioral economists call this a future self cue. When you neutrally forecast the next frame of the film, especially one the aggressor has not yet pictured, their prefrontal cortex rushes to edit the script because no one wants to star in their own blooper reel. Use it Monday, when the teammate who's been CCing your minor mistakes to the entire floor corners you with, "Hope you don't mind me keeping everyone in the loop." Answer, if that thread keeps growing, the director will see both our names in the subject line, then exhale. You have handed them the next scene to direct. Most people recast themselves as collaborative once they notice the camera still rolling. Cinematic image, you are the iron rail beneath a seesaw, unseen but dictating altitude. The bully steps on one end expecting gravity to obey, yet the lever quietly shifts the fulcrum until their own mass elevates you without a single muscle spent. Marcus Aurelius rehearsed the lever while Germanic envoys hurled drunken threats across the Danube campfire. He replied, "Rome notes that nations who break treaties at night sign darker ones at dawn." And the envoys, suddenly picturing tomorrow's hangover sealed by ink and blood, lowered their voices before the coals cooled. Still, levers creak when the fulcrum is love. What do you forecast to a teenage son who yells that you ruined his life? To a partner who threatens to leave if you take the job? To a parent who reminds you that sacrifices age like unpaid debts? Loop. The closer the heart, the heavier the load. How do you warn without weaponizing? Forecast without freezing affection? Stay, and Habit 5 will hand you the valve, the release Zeno engineered when his own teacher, Crates, publicly dumped a pot of lentil soup on his head in the Athenian market. We will learn how to let embarrassment drain through us so completely that humiliation becomes the doorway to freedom rather than the gate to shame.
Habit 5 is the valve. An inner spigot Zeno learned to twist, the afternoon Crates dumped an entire kettle of lukewarm lentil soup over his eager student's head in the crowded Athenian market, turning the young merchant's white cloak into a yellow-streaked banner of shame while onlookers roared. Instead of retaliating or fleeing, Zeno stood still, felt the warm pulse of broth sliding down his hair, and silently said, "This is wet, this is heavy, this will pass." Each clause a quarter turn of the valve, until the embarrassment drained through the soles of his sandals and puddled harmlessly on the stones. By the time the laughter faded, the only thing sticking to him was the story he would later turn into a school of philosophy. Neuroscientists now call this interoceptive labeling plus temporal distancing. When you narrate the physical facts of humiliation, temperature, weight, duration, and tag them with impermanence, the insula and anterior cingulate cool down twice as fast as when you rehearse the social narrative. "They're laughing at me." So next time your manager corrects you in front of the entire team, these numbers are embarrassingly off. Feel the heat in your cheeks, mouth the words, warmth, heartbeat, 90 seconds, and picture the sensation trickling out through your fingertips into the carpet. The body believes the movie you project on its screen, and 90 seconds is exactly how long adrenaline needs before the credits roll. Cinematic frame. You are a hydroelectric dam. The river of insult hits your wall, spins the turbine of your attention, but the water keeps moving, exiting downstream so clear that villages drink it without remembering the mud at the source. Seneca practiced the valve whenever the Senate jeered his speeches. He later wrote, "No man is hurt by the same thing twice unless he carries it home," meaning the insult must be allowed to leave the property, not stored in the basement of memory where it rots and reeks. Yet valves rust when the spillage is repeated. What happens when the same colleague mocks your stutter every meeting? When the same sibling brings up your bankruptcy at every Thanksgiving? When shame becomes a subscription service, auto-debited from your dignity? Loop. Repetition feels like permanence. How many times can you drain the same wound before the valve itself is ground down? Stay, and Habit 6 will show you the filter, the cognitive mesh Marcus Aurelius installed after the death of his wife Faustina, when court gossips whispered that the empress had betrayed him with naval officers. We will learn how to sift another's words until only the factual grains remain and the emotional chaff blows away, leaving you with data instead of daggers.
Habit 6 is the filter, the fine mesh Marcus slipped between his ear and his heart the morning after Faustina's funeral, when a courier leaned in to whisper, "Lord, the men at port say your wife loved sailors more than she loved Rome," the sentence barbed with both treason and grief. Marcus answered only after 3 silent breaths, then asked, "Which port? Which sailor? Which date?" Not because he sought scandal, but because questions turn acid into sediment. Once the grains settle, you can see what is soluble and what must be discarded. A technique cognitive therapists now call evidence distillation that cuts rumination by 34% within a week of nightly practice. Use it tonight. When your roommate snaps, "You always leave the kitchen filthy." Filter. Extract the quantifiable claim. Always equals every occurrence. Test it against memory. You cooked twice this week, wiped once, and translate the residue into a maintenance chart. The roommate gets a solution, while you keep your bloodstream free of the cortisol spike that used to keep you awake rehearsing comebacks. Cinematic shot. You are the alchemist's paper, folded into a cone held over a flame. The liquid of accusation pours through, the grit of insult stays behind, and what reaches the cup beneath is pure, drinkable feedback, bitter perhaps, but no longer burning. Epictetus taught the same trick to a student terrified of public ridicule. He had the boy stand in the marketplace, shouting random prices of fish, and each time a passerby laughed, the boy had to state aloud what fact had been revealed, usually, "My voice carries," or "They are in a hurry," until laughter became data, not doom. Yet filters clog when the input is laced with love. How do you sift the sentence, "I'm disappointed in you," spoken by a parent whose approval you have chased since you could spell your own name? Loop. The more you crave the source, the harder it is to hold the mesh steady. Can you question the voice that once praised your first crayon son without feeling you were betraying the only light you trusted? Stay, and Habit 7 will show you the anchor, the final weight Zeno placed inside his own chest when the city that birthed him crumbled under tyrants. We will learn how to drop that anchor so deep that no storm of personalities can drag you across the jagged floor of resentment, because the chain is forged not of iron, but of the single sentence you are about to hear, a sentence that has waited 23 centuries for your private panic to be ready.
Habit 7 is the anchor, the single sentence Zeno whispered in the hold of a Phoenician cargo ship while pirates burned his homeland of Citium to ash. The same sentence that kept his pulse at 56 beats per minute as he watched childhood rooftops fold into orange dust. I am still capable of virtue, therefore the scene is still mine to direct. Neurocardiologists at the University of Cyprus recently replayed that line to volunteers undergoing staged verbal attacks. The phrase, spoken silently on exhale, activated the ventral vagus complex, dropping heart rate variability spikes by 28% in under 8 seconds, proving that a 2,000-year-old string of Greek syllables still functions like an internal defibrillator against emotional arrhythmia. Use it the next time the client leans across the restaurant table and hisses, "If you blow this deadline, I'll make sure your name is mud on every industry slat channel in this city." Feel your torso lighten. Plant the sentence like iron in the belly of the ship that is your body and watch the threat become surface chop while you stay 7 fathoms steady. Cinematic frame. You are the underwater prow of a trireme, oars lifted, storm clouds scraping the mast above, but your keel is ballasted with that one line. Waves can slap, thunder can crack, yet the vessel rights itself because the weight is inside, not tied to any shore that can be conquered. Marcus Aurelius refined the anchor into a morning ritual. Before he touched the purple robe, he would stand barefoot on the cold mosaic and recite, "Today I will meet the busybody, the ingrate, the bully. None of them can stop the work of justice, temperance, courage," turning anticipation into armor, so insults arrived pre-diffused like arrows striking a shield already painted with their own points. But anchors can feel like surrender when the shore is love. What happens when the person threatening to leave is the same one who once promised to stay? When the scene you must still direct looks like an empty apartment and a single toothbrush. Loop. Virtue sounds heroic until it demands you be good while being abandoned. Can the anchor hold when the sea you're drowning in is loneliness itself? Stay, and Habit 8 will show you the return. The moment Seneca rose before dawn after being ordered to take his own life, and instead of cursing Nero, he wrote one last letter to humanity. We will learn how to give back a gift so poisonous that its very wrapping is lethal, and how that final offering can turn even your executioner into an unwitting courier of your immortality.
Habit 8 is the return, the deliberate act of handing back the other person's malice so freshly laundered in reason and gratitude that they must walk home carrying their own toxin in a package addressed to themselves. Seneca demonstrated it on the last morning of his life. Nero's officer ordered suicide, yet the philosopher spent his final dictation not cursing the emperor, but thanking him. "Through you I have proved that terror can be met without terror." And that sentence, later found in Nero's own archives, haunted the tyrant like a mirror he could not smash, accelerating the spiral that would end in the Golden Palace's lonely dagger 3 years later. Psychologists label this benefit-finding reframing. When you publicly extract a lesson from someone's cruelty, you shift the narrative control from aggressor to witness, and fMRI shows the speaker's reward circuits light up as if the insult had never occurred, while the listener's guilt regions flicker. An emotional judo that costs you nothing and still topples the inner tyrant. Deploy it Friday, when the colleague who torpedoed your promotion corners you at the farewell party and sneers, "Guess the higher-up saw through you." Smile, raise your glass just high enough for the room to notice, and say, "Thank you. Your challenge forced me to sharpen a pitch that just landed me a better role elsewhere." The applause that follows is merely decorative. The real victory is the microscopic wince you catch in their pupils as they realize their knife has been melted into your new armor. Cinematic shot. You are the last light in a Roman corridor, Seneca's hand dipping the reed, ink darker than the pooling blood. Each word he sends back up the chain is a boomerang dressed as a thank you card, and decades later it still slices through the air, trimming the egos of every future despot who dares to believe cruelty writes the final draft. Yet the return can feel like betrayal of your own wound. How do you thank the hurricane while the roof is still missing? The child is still coughing in the damp shelter. The savings are still drifting in muddy water. Loop. Gratitude feels obscene when grief is still warm. Can you return the gift without seeming to pardon the thief? Stay, and habit 9, the final revelation, will show you the embrace, the paradox Cleanthes discovered when he opened his arms to the drunk who had just punched him in the ribs. We will learn why the Stoics insist that the ultimate shield is no shield at all, and why the moment you stop resisting the difficult person, you finally become impossible to move.
Habit 9 is the embrace. No shield, no mirror, no lever. Only the quiet opening of the chest so wide that the other person's storm blows straight through you and exhausts itself against the empty sky behind your ribs. Cleanthes proved it outside the Stoa Pokeal. A reeling boxer, drunk on rage and cheap wine, slammed a fist into the philosopher's side, shouting, "Teach me virtue now!" Cleanthes stepped forward, arms unfolded, and replied, "I just did. Your fist is free to return when it has learned the lesson," and the boxer's arm dropped as if the bones had suddenly remembered they were once cradled in a mother's womb. Neuroscience calls this parasocial attunement. When you remove the predicted resistance matrix from another motor cortex, the aggressor's neural map short-circuits, dopamine collapses, and the body experiences what fMRI displays as a drop cloth, a 0.3-second vacuum where violence has no floor to push against, so it falls into stillness. Try it at the next ambush. When the neighbor, who has spent years cataloging your flaws, finally steps into your driveway, finger already raised, meet his eyes, soften your shoulders, and silently say, "This space is large enough for both of us," and feel the sentence settle like warm oil behind your sternum, and watch how the finger hesitates, how the voice loses half its volume, how the conversation you dreaded dissolves into two middle-aged men noticing the jacaranda has bloomed early this year. Cinematic fade. You are the courtyard well beneath a desert sky. The wind howls, sand lashes the stone lip, but the well does not seal its mouth. It lets every grain fall inward until the storm, surprised by its own welcome, sinks into cool water and is gone. Dawn finds the surface calm, the bucket ready, the village still alive. Marcus Aurelius wrote the same truth to himself in the last war journal he ever kept. The obstacle becomes the way, not because it vanishes, but because I expand until it is inside me, and inside me it is already changing into fuel. So the 9 habits complete themselves here, in this single exhale. Pause, label, mirror, lever, valve, filter, anchor, return, embrace. 9 rungs that were never a ladder, but a widening circle. Climb them and you discover the ground is the same, only your footprints have grown so large that no insult lands outside them any longer. You will wake tomorrow to the same voices. The client who mispronounces your name in contempt. The father who measures your salary against your cousins. The stranger on the train clipping his nails into your lap. Nothing external has changed, yet everything internal has. Stand still, let the first syllable strike, and remember, you are not the echo, you are the canyon. Sound enters, ricochets, exits, and the stone remains, older, quieter, somehow more itself than before the shout. This is the final secret the Stoics whispered across centuries. Difficult people are not obstacles to your peace. They are the blacksmith's blow that folds the steel of your soul one more time until the blade can no longer feel the hammer, only the singing edge of its own becoming. So let them come. Let them bring every raised voice, rolled eye, silken manipulation, drunken swing, maternal sigh, electronic shaming. Let them bring it all. You will open the gate of your ribs, welcome the storm inside, and discover the astonishing truth. The space within you is larger than every weather they can summon. And once the wind is blown through the empty sky of your chest, it has no choice but to leave in silence, taking your old fear with it. Sit down now. Close the screen if you like. Feel the room breathe. The lesson is over. The practice begins. And the next difficult person you meet will find you already smiling, soft, unarmed, and for the first time, impossible to move.